Hi, how's it going, man?
Good.
It's interesting because this is the first time I've done an interview series with someone who I know, so I'm talking a lot. I've written about 30 songs so far, and I've demoed them out, and 5 of them are right. You know what I mean? And that's both frustrating and encouraging because those 5 are really good. And one of them's 20 minutes long, too, so it's like... You know, everything's kind of moving together at the same time. Like, I ended up hiring a bunch of people that were the best possible people I could get into my world. Mike Keneally, what an absolute honor to work with this guy. He's a great dude and just unrelentingly brilliant. They came to town with Satriani the other night, and so I went and I just talked to him and I was like, would you like to be on this record? Can you be involved with this? Because it's another guy that is so colorful and so unique, but also so advanced that it's not like the type of person that I'm going to be like, I want you to play this. It's going to be somebody that can bring things to it that are completely foreign. That's great. But at the same time, the songs are structured so airtight in a sense that I don't want that to be modified. My metaphor for it, and this is what I explained to him as well, is that like I want a group of people that we can look at a photograph of a cat, and then together we can paint that cat. So what we ultimately get is the same photo, but it's painted by a bunch of people, so it's totally different, but it's the same thing, right? It's funny. It's funny. So Morgan had done Casualties of Cool with me. When I went to Sweden in the beginning of this year to sort of clear my head prior to starting this record, I went and stayed with him, and we jammed and wrote a couple things. And I mean, Morgan as a drummer is, well, he's two things. Because first and foremost, he's maybe the most phenomenal drummer I've ever seen. And on the other hand, because what makes him so great is his ability to react to things. I've typically worked with people that I make MIDI files, and I'm very specific about wanting it to be a certain way because the orchestras interact with it in a certain way, and it's all kind of dependent on each other, and the drums being the ladder that everything rests on. I've always wanted it to be a certain way, but because he's more reactionary and more of almost like a free jazz type of mindset, it was very difficult to do the same process that I had done in the past and then get out of him the thing that I just love so much, just as a person, as a dude, as a musician. It's Morgan's musicality is just so wonderful. I don't know many people who I could consider to be as good a person, as a proficient musician, not only in terms of drums, but also orchestration and music in general, but just such a kind-hearted person, and really someone who I consider to be a really good friend. But because I write things in such a specific way and so much of the music was written like that, I asked him, I would just like your permission, although I had said that you're going to do this whole record, I would like your permission for me to get 2 other drummers involved so you don't have to think about this shit. And he was like, thank God.
That's it. Because that's what I was thinking. It's like, that's why I wanted to get the other guys to learn those bits.
So then in that place, you got...
Anoop to do the prog stuff, and Sam to do the death metal stuff, both of which turned out to be the perfect drummers for this.
Like the tom fills are like...
Yeah, exactly. That's what's happening.
Up to this point, I've on each record, as you know, I've tried to incorporate some sort of choir. I would put together something like we did on Transcendence, or on Z2, I had a bunch of people do it in a different way. And I've always had Eric work with me, whom I met through Dave Young, and he's able to translate my ideas into manuscript that the choir can read. And the guy who I had mixed the 5.1 with said, hey, I work with this choir called the Electro Women's Choir, and they're phenomenal. They tour, they're anywhere between 30 and 60 women. Morna Edmondson, who is the choral leader of the Electra group, agreed to talk to me about my idea, but she was hesitant. It's a similar song and dance that I go through, where the first thing that they'll put up when they look up me on YouTube is strapping, you know what I mean? And I'm like, stick this in your or something, right? And so I said, well, just have a conversation with me so I can tell you about what the intention is with this record. Yes, it's silly heavy in certain parts, but I'm trying to make something that represents, you know, the experience of being alive, right? So it's not, I'm not trying to make anything that's toxic. And we talked, and I sent her the song Why, and she loved it. And she was like, wow, I didn't realize that you actually knew what you were doing, and I'd like to be involved with this. And I was like, this is great.
Thought I actually had a stroke.
And then you used for the orchestra.
So I got an email from this orchestra called Lords of the Sound out of Kiev in the Ukraine, and they were soliciting work through the management, and they sent some YouTube videos where they sounded good. I had done all the orchestration digitally, and it was sounding really great. And I wanted to augment that with the orchestra. And I put them through the ringer, man. I'm so picky about this stuff, man. And I don't think that Lords of the Sound knew ahead of time how intense it would be for them. And, you know, I think that the next step for me in terms of choral and orchestral music is, for the Moth, I need to have the budget for people to rehearse this stuff like hardcore for months, because otherwise, man, it's like I might as well just do it on my own. It's a subtle thing. It's like real orchestra versus digital orchestra. Maybe the layperson wouldn't notice, but I mean, that's, what are you going to do? That's those slight differences, man, that maybe only an audiophile would notice. I'm one of them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the combination of all those elements are coming together in this really fucking colorful way. And the more that I work on this, the more that the identity is starting to present itself. So I contacted Nolly, and I told him about the project. And what we're doing is, myself, Keneally, Morgan, we're going to Bath, England, track it with Nolly, because I have to have the record finished by the end of November. So that's basically the vomit
for right now.